This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. It is season 3, episode 1, debut premiere of the 3rd season of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Hello and welcome in. My name is Brandon Baney, but more importantly, the main captain of this fleet is our East Idaho resident and expert, Sean Kane. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, a lot of people are waiting for the second half season of Yellowstone, but they don't have to wait for the new season of East Idaho podcast.
That's right.
I'm the Kevin Costner of this show. You know what I'm saying?
No writer's strike here at IdahoSports.com. We write all of our own material and hot takes. So you can get in touch with us, Brandon at IdahoSports.com. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brandon_Baney. You can also find Sean on X as well at Sean Kane 182. So welcome in to the East Idaho Prepcast. This is our 3rd season, but in case you are new and just discovering this for the first time, here's how the show works. We bring it to you every week on IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel and Facebook page, where you can watch the video, see what Sean and I are up to, what we're wearing, what our backgrounds look like. If you are on the go and you want just the audio, you can also get that at IdahoSports.com. Right on the homepage, across the top of the navigation bar, you'll see a tab that says Prepcasts. From there, there's a little drop-down menu. You click on East Idaho Prepcast. It'll take you to the page with the current episode right there. You can also download this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. If you're old school like me and you have an Android phone, Samsung, you can get it at Podcast Addict. That is my preferred podcast vehicle of choice. But there's lots of ways to consume it, and we get a lot of people from all 4 places. So thank you for being with us. We break down the biggest stories in districts 5 and 6 week in, week out here in East Idaho. You might be thinking, how come you don't have one for District 5 only and one for District 6 only? Well, Sean, they end up combining in a lot of the districts, at the 5A level and the 1A level. Districts 5 and 6 all play together. And then in the 4As and the 3As and the 2As, all these schools end up playing each other anyway. So it just made sense to combine it all into one.
Or they have to play a play-in game against each other, so it really works out either way, right?
Right.
Or their second play-in game of the playing game. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, it's so big. Don't be afraid to hit one of us up if there's something exciting going on in your neck of the woods, because we love to hear all those different stories. And it's the biggest and best combined district in the state. So we'd love to hear from all the fans.
That's right. That is what this show, and really what IdahoSports.com is all about, is promoting these incredible young men and women that are student athletes and leaders and role models in their respective communities. So if there's a story out there about an athlete, about a coach, about a family, a team that isn't getting the attention it deserves, let us know. Send us an email, send us a message on X, and we'll make sure we get to it, because yes, it's a big area and sometimes stuff falls through the cracks, but we want to get all of the big things that are happening. So you might be wondering, who the heck are we? My name is Brandon Baney. I grew up in Montana, originally Western Montana, small town called Stevensville. Played for the Yellow Jackets. That was my high school mascot. A very average football player, even worse in track and field. And in basketball, I got cut my sophomore year because, I'm 6'3", 6'4", but my team had guys that were like 6'7" and 6'8". And they were like, well, sorry, we've got enough big guys. Can you shoot? I was like, if I'm right by the basket. And they're like, yeah, no, we got enough of those already. Sorry. And now it's really sad. My high school had like 7 kids come out total for basketball last year. So I'm like, man, where was that at when I was in school? I could have made the team. But anyways, that's my story. I have a background in radio. I did radio for a really long time, sports broadcasting, morning show, all that fun radio stuff. And this is my 3rd year at IdahoSports.com. That's enough about me. Sean, you live in Pocatello. You are a teacher at Century High School. You are also the head tennis coach at Century High School. And so you're pretty plugged in. You're a great expert to have on the show because you're talking to a lot of coaches, right? Certainly tennis coaches, but also you're talking to a lot of the ADs, the athletic directors over there in East Idaho.
This will be, if you can imagine it, this will be my 18th year of coaching high school tennis. So it's kind of been a long time. And when there's questions or anything as far as tennis, a lot of the ADs just hit me up personally, and it's been good, and I've fostered a lot of great relationships that way. And yeah, I've just always been involved in sports for whatever. I also do some PA announcing for the basketball games at Century too. I don't have quite the background in the radio as our fine captain here, Brandon, does. But me and Brandon came in at the same time, and it's been good. I've had a lot of fun, and it's exciting, and there's just a lot of stuff happening, and I'm excited for football, and I can't even believe it's already starting Friday. So once Hard Knocks starts on HBO, you're just like, oh yeah, it's football season. So yeah, I'm excited, and I think there's going to be a lot of fun action, whether it's football, soccer, golf. There's just going to be so much stuff in the fall now.
Yes, friendly reminder, all of our fall sports previews are coming out. We have probably 75% of our football previews up on the website. It's right on the homepage, IdahoSports.com, where we write a preview for every football team in the state of Idaho, key players to watch, all that fun stuff. If your favorite team's preview isn't in yet, it will be soon. We also are working on statewide volleyball, girls soccer, boys soccer, and cross-country previews. Those should all be debuting sometime next week as we get more into the fall sports swing of things. And this summer, we did, for the third year in a row, our top 10 series for high school football, where we gave you, at least in our opinion, the top 10 players at each position. We went offensive line, defensive line, we went special teams. We did running backs, linebackers, wide receivers, defensive backs. And by the time you're watching this or listening to this, our final piece, the top 10 quarterbacks, will have posted to the website as well. Those are our top 10 lists. Those are kind of fun off-season content. And speaking of off-season content, Sean, over the summer, we also did a trio of off-season roundtable discussions where we talked about kind of big State of the Union type issues that were coming to a head here in the state of Idaho. The first roundtable we did was in June, and we talked about Idaho's reclassification process, possibly changing the enrollment numbers. That ultimately failed just a couple weeks ago, so things will be staying the same, which means there's going to be a lot of 4A schools in East Idaho, especially, that are now moving up to the 5A level. Skyline, Pocatello, Idaho Falls, all going to be moving on up, along with Twin Falls and Canyon Ridge, to form this gigantic 9-team conference now starting next year in the 5A ranks.
Yeah, and from the few people I've talked to, they're pretty excited about it, because when you have that 9-team, you've got some power in your reps to state, and it could be really exciting and kind of shift the balance of those tournament brackets for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that affects representation. So that was a topic we tackled in June. Then in July, we talked about player transfers. And now that the state of Idaho has adopted school choice, basically open enrollment, you go wherever you want to go at any time for any reason. Of course, athletics isn't going to work quite that way, but it could cause some headaches for the IHSAA down the line potentially. So we talked about player transfers in July, and then in August, just last week, Sean, we talked about state tournaments, max preps, expanding the state tournament. How can it be improved? Should we move it to East Idaho? I think we were in the very, very vocal minority on that, Sean. So I think East Idaho's got to, work out a couple of things logistically before they could host state basketball. But that was a fun topic as well. You can go back and listen or watch those on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. They are all right there for you. It was a lot of fun having these off-season roundtables.
Yeah, I think it's great. The feedback from fans is they really like it when, everyone's at the table, because we get everyone's kind of point of view. We get the different regions' point of view. We get personal point of views. And I think it's kind of, it's kind of like a buffet of sports. You don't like that. Well, you have a little bit of this, and it's pretty beneficial. And I think it's good to get some topics started and discussed. And I know, because I always have to look at things a little differently, because when you're a coach, your first gut reaction is, how's it affect me? And then you gotta kind of take a step back and kind of look at the benefit of all of it, or the progress moving forward. And and what it comes down to is what's best for the kids, and how what's the best way we can get the most fair and equal playing field for those student athletes. And when you get everyone at the table, it benefits, I think, that discussion, and can bring up some new points. And like when we did the discussion just a little bit ago, and I talked about a committee, that seemed to spark a lot of interest. So just things like that, just kind of get people thinking outside the box and not just have that gut reaction. It only affects me. When you can bring everyone together, it's a lot more beneficial.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we talked about the enrollment classification changes that were proposed in June. It passed on a very narrow 7-6 vote. It passed by one vote. And then on the second reading, so everything that is proposed has to pass first reading and then second reading. They had second reading in August, and it failed by 2. And so we had a couple of board members leave and a couple of new board members come on at the IHSAA, and that can affect things. But they did a survey. They surveyed all of the athletic directors and coaches in Idaho, and like over 70% of respondents said, yes, we are in favor of these changes. And then they didn't go with it. So like you said, it's nice to hear from everybody, but at the same time, then, you got to take what the people say.
Sometimes I don't like what you guys tell me to do, but sometimes there's someone in charge, right? I mean, that's, and I talked about it before, and a few people are in it is what it is. At the end of the day, you got to go out and compete and do what's best for your teams. And you could spend all day arguing, but it doesn't change the great coaches we have in East Idaho, and they're gonna be good at whatever level they're at. I guarantee that. We have some of the best coaches here in East Idaho and in the Northwest. I would be easy to say that.
Yes, great coaching in East Idaho, which is why so many blue trophies end up back in East Idaho every single year. Well, here we are, the opening weekend of competition. I am not ready for it. I'm sure you're not either, but here we are. We're going to hit the ground running. The very first athletic event to take place in Idaho this season. Sean, any guesses?
Is it it's got to be soccer, right?
Yes, it is a boys soccer match in East Idaho. Preston traveling up to Sugar-Salem on Friday, August 18th. Now, there's a lot of football games that are also taking place Friday, but those are kicking off in the evening. This soccer match is kicking off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Sean. It's part of a boys-girls doubleheader. The boys are going to play at 2. Girls are going to follow at 4. And so right out of the gates, 2 programs that are always very strong, Preston and Sugar-Salem, in a non-conference match. That's going to be great.
Yeah, it's it seems like they have kind of a yearly thing now. I think Sugar-Salem and football too, and Preston, and maybe not. I could be off on that one, but yeah, that'll be great. It'll be good. Hopefully the kicker isn't on the boys soccer team. That could be a long day for him, because a lot of times the kicker for the football teams is also on the boys soccer team.
Yeah, that happened last year with Sugar-Salem. Mason Kinghorn played soccer and was also the kicker for the Diggers football team. Other boys soccer matches from the opening weekend on Friday. Firth is at Snake River. You've got the Crosstown Showdown at 7:30 at Iron Horse Stadium. Pocatello and Highland doing battle under the lights. I love that. Also on Friday in girls soccer, you've got Firth at Snake River, Preston at Sugar-Salem, And Highland and Pocatello are going to play in girls soccer as well. Across town, though, at Irving Middle School, also under the lights at 7:30. That's in District 5. District 6 action on Friday. We'll see if there's any crossover. I think those are all the big matchups, but Friday's kind of a light schedule, and then we really get into it on Saturday. You've also got in boys soccer on Friday, Rigby is at Skyline as well in boys soccer. And on the girls side, also Rigby at Skyline. They're going to play that at Ravston Stadium under the lights, 7:30 kickoff, Sean. I love that they're playing soccer at Ravston Stadium.
Oh, I mean, I got to see one soccer game at Lookout last year. It kind of started at dusk into night, and I think it's way better. I think it's 100 times better. I could go into the reasons why other people don't think it's better, but I love it at night. And I don't know, when you go to soccer, obviously you sit on one side or the other, and the sun's always on one side or the other, you know what I mean, in your face. So for a fan, I like it at night.
Yeah, for sure. To the Saturday schedule, boys soccer, Teton at Marsh Valley, Aberdeen at South Fremont, Shelley at Preston, Canyon Ridge at Thunder Ridge. And also on the schedule for Saturday, Twin Falls is at Highland at Iron Horse Stadium, and Century hits the road to take on Burley. Those are all Saturday contests. The Saturday slate in girls soccer, it's a lot of the same matchups, right? They try to schedule that the same. Yep. You've got Aberdeen at South Fremont, Thunder Ridge at Canyon Ridge, Teton at Marsh Valley. You've got Preston at Shelley as well in girls soccer. And then also on Saturday, Highland is going to travel to Twin Falls, and Century will host Burley, and Aberdeen at South Fremont. And then the big matchup, Sean, that I think is going to be the most intriguing matchup of the weekend is Saturday. It's a non-conference girls soccer matchup. Sugar-Salem is traveling to the community school, Sun Valley Community School, the Cutthroats, for a 1 p.m. showdown on Saturday. We know what kind of soccer program Sun Valley Community School has, and Sugar-Salem, after missing out on state last year, losing to Teton in the district championships, they're hungry to get back, and they are challenging themselves right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I think it's, get the hardest possible matchups you can to, see where your team's at. And I think it'll be great. And yeah, community is always bringing back blue trophies, and Sugar-Salem is blue, and there's a reason why. I think their color matches the trophy.
Yeah, they are the premier for boys and girls soccer. I mean, what they do every year at Sun Valley Community School is pretty darn impressive. So that's the opening soccer slate. We do have football as well. They call it week 0, Sean, officially. And when it first came about, there was maybe like 1 or 2 games that were played in week 0. But now more and more teams are scheduling week 0 games because you're allowed to practice a week before everybody else. And I think coaches just want to, yes, the early game is not ideal, but it gives them more time with their team, right? They get an early start over everyone else.
Yeah, you get that practice time. And I think just scheduling football in general is tough for ADs and how the conferences are. So if you're able to get one in at that time, I think it just ensures that you're going to have a full schedule of games too. For whatever reasons that might not happen or changes, it's nice to get it started and not have to worry about, can we pick up a game or we didn't get enough games. So I think scheduling wise, if you can get it, it's great. And yeah, practice and just knowing, a lot of the matchups are, non-conference and different things, but I think you get a good idea of where everyone's at. And then that's how you adjust for the week.
And East Idaho fans, eat your heart out. 4 matchups on IdahoSports.com here on the opening weekend, week 0, Sean. This is going to be an exciting launch into the season. There's no jogging in a buildup. We are hitting the ground running with 4 East Idaho contests. I think the most exciting one has to be, for the second year in a row, a pair of 5A powers meeting at a neutral site. Rigby and Coeur d'Alene will square off at Washington Grizzly Stadium on the campus of the University of Montana in Missoula. Sean, I will be there at that game. I was last year. It was a great debut. First varsity game for Luke Flowers, Rigby quarterback. He has now committed to the Montana Grizzlies. So he is, I anticipate a lot of Missoula people coming to the game just to see, hey, who's this new QB we picked up? It's going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, that'll be, that's a great game. And it's always it's a game that kind of, since it's happened a couple years now, it's kind of sets the tone for the year for football, really. I mean, you got two powerhouses, one from East, one from North, both teams always competing at the end of the year. So it'll be great. I was going to say the matchup I'm doing was the best one, but okay.
Yeah, we'll get to it for sure. I will say this, Coeur d'Alene was down a little bit last year. They missed the playoffs for the first time in several years. That defense is no joke, though. Coeur d'Alene's defense is very, very good. They bring back a lot of talented players. Offense, maybe still a work in progress. Rigby's offense, we know, is, ready to go. And Rigby's defense also excellent. This is going to be a good measuring stick for each of these teams coming out of the gate. Let's talk about the game that you're going to be at, Sean. It is a 4A versus 5A matchup. Thunder Ridge is going to be hosting Minico from the Great Basin Conference. New coach for Minico, Sherm Blaser, took over for Keelan McCaffrey, who left for the Centennial job. Thunder Ridge, meanwhile, in the second season under head coach Michael Berger, son of Scott Berger, the longtime coach at Skyline.
Yeah, it's, one of the coaches from Thunder Ridge used to work at Century, and I got a chance to talk to him this week, Chris Kearns. And he's real excited that, they were in that game. They played Minico at Minico last year, very strong Minico game or team. And they're excited to, Thunder Ridge is kind of they kind of get the short end of the stick in that conference, right? There's Highland, Rigby and Madison isn't going to be any joke either this year. And so, but Thunder Ridge is coming back. They have a new offensive coordinator. They're real excited about that because Mike was doing everything, and now they have a new offensive coordinator, and they've got some dudes, and I think it'll be a good game. But, I was able to see Minico or do a couple Minico games last year, and they're just going to be a tough, wing T team until the cows come home, right? And it's a good matchup.
So I think Minico is going to look a little different now that they've got a new coach in Sherm Blaser. I think the wing T he's not really a wing T guy. He's more of a spread guy. So it's going to be weird, I think, to see Minico a little bit because they have run the wing T for so many years. The other thing with Minico is they lost an historically great and historically large senior class. I mean, they had 30 seniors on last year's team that are all gone. They do bring back their quarterback in Carson Waymit, but that's about it. I think Thunder Ridge is set up in a good spot here to start their season off 1-0 against the Spartans. Sean Kane, you will be on the call with Joel Richardson. Is that who we got you paired with?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know you're gonna miss me, but it'll be all right.
Hey, I'm coming back to do probably the biggest game of the year in East Idaho with you, Emotion Bowl, at the end of September. So yeah,
hey,
you save all your best lines for that game, Sean.
They're endless.
That's right. We are also bringing to you, you mentioned one of the teams that's in this district. We're really showcasing the 5A High Country Conference. We've got Rigby, we've got Thunder Ridge, and we've got Madison hosting Owyhee in a non-conference matchup. This is a game that Paul Kingsbury and Logan Green, they are coming over from Boise to broadcast this game because it's going to be, I think, a pretty intriguing one. These two teams met last year. Madison traveled to Owyhee and lost a very narrow game, 13-7. You talk to Madison fans and they're like, we should have won this game. A lot of turnovers, especially in the red zone. And it was a game that essentially, no matter how you slice it up, basically gave Owyhee the last playoff spot and really kind of cost Madison the final playoff spot. This one game kind of hinged the playoff fortunes of both teams.
Well, Madison, if you have trouble in the red zone, I think they found a pretty good Band-Aid to fix that. And, Gino Mariani, is doing the offensive coordinating up there. And he might be able to help him. He might have a little experience in that red zone, and he's got good schemes, and it sounds like it's going pretty well up there, and the kids really like him. And nice job, Bob Madison, to pick up a guy with a little bit of experience in the red zone, right? So I think the Madison offense will look pretty stout this year, a little better, maybe just with Gino in there. I don't know how it couldn't.
You're right. Gino Mariani, the longtime head coach at Highland, multiple state championships, multiple players in the NFL under Gino's tutelage. And yeah, this is now he's the offensive coordinator at Madison under head coach Chandler Rhodes. It's going to be interesting to see what Madison, the last couple of years, Ben Dredge has been their quarterback, and he was a great threat running the football. It's almost like having a running back there. And the passing, there were good moments and, peaks, and then there were valleys. And maybe if Madison can get a little more consistency in the pass game, become a little more diverse offensively, I think sky's the limit for the Bobcats. But a Hawaii team coming to town, week 0 showdown, also on IdahoSports.com. And the fourth game we're going to be bringing to you, Sean, this weekend from Idaho Sports, East Idaho on IdahoSports.com. These are all Friday night, by the way. Sugar-Salem hosting Century in a non-conference battle. Sugar-Salem, they have won 5 of the past 6 3A championships. Century's kind of at the other end. They are low numbers. They're a 4A school, but they are at the lower end. And I wrote the season preview for the Century football team, and their coach, Ryan Fleischman, he makes no bones about it. He said, hey, look, this is the most difficult and significant rebuild Century's ever gone through. And he said, I know every coach says that, but for us, it's really true. We have low numbers, and we are just, we're going to have to try and figure it out. But the encouraging thing for Century is they had over 40 freshmen turn out for the freshman team. It's just going to be a couple of years.
Yeah, and last year was a hard year, but they did have some seniors, Century did, and they're gone now, and you've got almost a brand new team that's going to be starting in there, and I'm sure Ryan alluded to that. But they've got good coaches, they've got a good program, and they're working, and it's got to start somewhere, right? You got to start and just keep building and building. And I will tell you that freshman class is a very strong freshman class. There's some good kids on there. Some of them play tennis, but pretty exciting. So, but yeah, it's a tough game. But when in a 3-team conference, you got to kind of get the games that you can get, and why not go up there and get it? And a couple of years ago, they almost beat Sugar-Salem. It was a really close game. So you never know at the start of the season, but I like the ability to go up and just see where you're at, and show the guys that this is what it takes. You're going to see a well-tuned Sugar-Salem team, as we've seen year in and year out. So you either take it as an opportunity or you get discouraged, and everything's an opportunity, right? If you don't have pressure, then it really wasn't worth doing it. So
hey, that's right. And by the way, spoiler alert, Sugar-Salem's going to be really good again. Yeah. like you needed to ask. They are dynamic. They bring back Cash Harris, Bosco, all these great running backs. They're going to be fantastic. So that'll be a game you can also watch on IdahoSports.com. Other week 0 games, we'll quickly run through these. South Fremont traveling to Wood River. Wood River is a 4A school. They petitioned down to play 3A football. Last year, South Fremont won in the season opener at home over Wood River by a score of 20-8. So kind of a close game. I anticipate something similar this year. Other interesting games, or other games, period, on the week 0 schedule. We've got another neutral site game, Sean. Second year in a row that Lakeland and Preston will be meeting in Montana. They'll play at Montana Tech University in Butte. This is, I think, actually maybe the 3rd year in a row that the teams have done this. But Lakeland is a team that made the playoffs last year, nearly won their conference. Preston was a team that was young, but all of those underclassmen are a year older. And Craig Cunningham, the Preston head coach, has gotten a lot of basketball athletes that didn't play football last year back out for the team this year. So Preston expects to be a little more dynamic this year on the football field.
Yeah, they had some highs and some lows last year, Preston, as a football team, but getting those As we know, Preston only has like 30, 40 basketball athletes every year. So, no, I mean, that'll be great. And yeah, I got to see Lakeland last year in the playoffs, and they're a team that's always kind of just like on the verge to kind of do something big. So it'll be interesting to see. And I feel like these games, when they've met, they've always been really close, low scoring battles. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Preston won 7-6 at Montana Tech. Last year, Lakeland won 28-0, but it was very close until about the third quarter. And so this is the third meeting in a row to start the year. The rubber match, if you will. Who will come out on top, Preston or Lakeland? We will see. Snake River is traveling to Richfield High School down in Utah for a season opener there. Now, it's always tough to play Utah teams early because Utah has already had a set of games under their belt. Utah's season kicked off last week. That was kind of their week one, if you will. So for Snake River going in against a team that's already got a game under its belt, that could be kind of tricky. You've got Malad at American Falls, 2A playing up to a 3A. I'm telling you right now, people are sleeping on American Falls this year. I think the Beavers are going to be very feisty, very competitive. Tim Hoppy, their head coach, second year on the job, has done a tremendous job really turning that program around. I would say keep an eye out on American Falls this year, just saying. And then you've got 1 8-man game. Grace is hosting El Capitan High School from Arizona. No idea what kind of team El Capitan High has, but I know Grace is pretty darn good. They got all the way to the 1A D1 championship last year. Yeah,
Grace is a team we talked about a lot, I think, right? They don't have a lot of limelight, but when it comes to game time, they shine really bright. So we'll have to see what that matchup looks like because we're no experts in the El Capitan area.
Yeah, from Colorado City, Arizona. So that's all I know about him. But it should be a good season opener for the Grace Grizzlies as well. As we are off and running, Sean, we will do this East Idaho Prepcast every single week. Maybe next week we'll dive more into some preview type stuff or talk about more of the matchups. Volleyball will have started by then. We have some actual results we can break down, but we're going to try and keep it to about a half an hour every week. I feel like that's about the extent of what we can expect people to tune in for.
Oh, yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
I'm not a big talker.
Yeah, clearly we're not big talkers. We just did 32 minutes worth of podcasting, and it felt like it was 2 minutes, at least for me. Do they ever feel like? Yeah,
no, they never feel too long. The other night when the group one was getting a little long, but that was just maybe because of our other people, not me and Brandon. We're very professional and keep it about sports. But
I will say this: I'm gonna talk bad about the boss because I don't know if he'll tune into this or not. But Paul Kingsbury is our boss, and I really struggle doing games with him, doing podcasts with him because his attention span just wanders, and it's really hard to get him corralled back in and on task sometimes. So I would much rather do a game with you, Sean.
Yeah, sometimes you get a little off tangent, but also has some good points and stuff. But you got to keep a little fun. That's why I'm here. I'm the fun guy.
Sure. You are clearly by that backwards hat that you're wearing. So
yeah, I didn't want to comb my hair.
Yeah, that's
last day of summer for me. I'm wearing a hat.
Yeah, back to school very soon for everybody, and back to the competition as we are off and running here on the East Idaho Prepcast. We'll be here every week doing this for season 3. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. For Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.